right, we have taken a sabbatical for one Thursday. But here we are again. Presbytera, welcome again to the show.
Always good to be here.
Always good to be here and making sure that everybody stays on track.
Already slamming his hands
Already
on the table.
slamming the hands on the table.
Yes,
You're going to fix this, though, next week, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for.
All right.
The I don't know if I can celebrate a stomach bug sabbatical, but hey, you know.
No, yeah, that's right. Actually, I'm supposed to be. See,
Well, don't look at me. Look.
See, that's why you have that Godfather book on your desk at all times.
That's right. I have the Godfather book, but the point of this is actually this was handmade for me. So this is my. Can I see that?
Sinatra.
Yeah. So I had this custom made. I was on a business trip in California, and there was a haberdashery there, and I always wanted a fedora. And so they had this custom made. It's off of one of Frank Sinatra's albums. I said, that's the hat that I want. And custom made that.
Oh, is that the one where he's leaning back against something?
Yes, of Swingin' or something like that. I'm trying to remember the name of the album.
I can't remember.
But that was that. So this is today's look. Today's look. All right. So what I wanted to start off with is I was reading in the news, and then I told... and Demos and I were kind of talking about it, is that apparently the recently deceased Pope Benedict, and may his memory be eternal, I guess has posthumously published a book.
Oh, can you posthumously publish something? Or just somebody publish it for you?
Yeah, okay, maybe.
It was the collection of essays. It was a collection of essays.
It was a collection of his essays, and the book is, I guess, available only in Italian. So it's not available in English yet. And there's already commentary. I've read, he showed me a couple of things online, and I was reading some of that. And they're already attacking the book about, his intolerance, apparently. So, number one, I don't want to make any commentary about that until I actually read the book. But they were giving, not excerpts, but they were talking about some of it. And what I want to say about that, what I can say about that is that in 1998, when he was still Cardinal Ratzinger, and remember, Cardinal Ratzinger was one of the premier theologians of the Catholic Church and was very, very well respected by our archbishops and also by Patriarch Bartholomew. So because of his theology and of his study of both the Western and the Eastern Fathers, he was well respected. And he wrote this book, Introduction to Christianity. And in this, he writes something really interesting. And he talks about it opens up with, and I won't take too long with this, because Demas is already getting worried here, belief in the world of today. And it's titled Doubt and Belief, Man's Situation Before the Question of God. And he makes this interesting commentary in the beginning where he talks about a story that Kierkegaard wrote in a book entitled The Secular City. And it's this, and it's an allegory. And the story roughly is that there was a fire burning in this village, and the town clown was the only person available to go and to warn the villagers and to bring them in.
Have a town clown?
Town clown. Is a town clown. Okay.
AKA the village idiot? Or?
I'm reading here, and I'll go. Oh, sorry, now this makes more sense. A traveling circus.
Oh, okay, because I've never heard of a town clown. Like, is that a thing?
I don't know. We've met some people that could be the town clown.
Is it a good paying position?
Yes. All right.
I want to find the Rochester jester. Come on.
Okay. All right.
It's him, I think.
Right now, I'm the town clown. So anyway, it's a traveling circus. All right. This is a traveling circus. All right. And so that makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay. So they send the clown off to the village, and he can't, and he's jumping around and he's laughing and he's saying, "There's a fire! There's a fire!" Well, everybody thinks it's an act because they think this is clown, you know. So then the clown starts crying and says, "You got to help me with this fire." So then they think, and they applaud, and finally the whole place burns down. Okay, so where am I going with this?
That's not a happy story.
It's not a happy story. No, it's Kierkegaard. I mean, come on, it's not a happy story. All right, and what Ratzinger does, again, Pope Benedict, what Ratzinger does is he compares this to the situation today and says, in today, the priest is the old-fashioned clown costume and is not taken seriously in his role. Okay? The reality in which theology exists today is imprisoned, and the priests have an inability to break through accepted patterns of thought and speech that make people recognize the subject matter of theology as a serious aspect of life. Okay, so he's saying it's the priest who is the clown, who is yelling and screaming, and they're saying, "Oh, very nicely done." And in case, somebody's going to say, "Well, that's a Catholic theologian, who cares?" All right, we have now. Oh, can you put those $2 up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we have two very prominent, and I'm going to again call them theologians. Father Kalivas, who I had the distinct pleasure of having as my professor at the seminary, and Father Alexander Schmemann, who wrote 2 great books on the liturgy and the Eucharist today. And what Father Kalivas says is exactly what Ratzinger is saying, is that the liturgy today has ceased to be dangerous. It is no longer a dangerous thing, meaning that when I say, with the fear of God, faith and love draw near, nobody takes that seriously anymore. I'm quoting him here, when there is little or no faith, the liturgy is in crisis. And that's the exact words that Schmemann uses himself in his book, is that the liturgy stops being dangerous. God no longer is relevant, and faith and worship then fade away. Now, one last thing, which I like, because if you know Father Kalivas, oh man, he's hilarious, is he blames part of this is he blames this clown issue on the priests. He says, "It is hard to imagine how people can worship in spirit and truth when clergy offers them liturgical services that are spiritless or over-pretentious, when they celebrate the rites in a language that is incomprehensible, uninspiring preaching, or liturgical actions that are graceless." So, great, absolutely great book. But what he's saying is the same thing that Ratzinger is saying here, is that we have ceased to understand that Christianity is dangerous. And so that's what he's presenting. It seems like the theme that he's presenting in the book is no different than what he was writing about in his 1998 book, Introduction to Christianity. So I'm looking forward to reading that book, but I wanted to make that statement. So before we get all bent out of shape about what is the Pope said now, or the former Pope, can we say that?
Well, he was Pope Emeritus.
Pope Emeritus, what did he say? Is that he is saying exactly the same thing that our modern day theologians are saying. Okay, so I will get off my soapbox now.
All right, shall we jump in?
Plus, I blamed all the priests now.
Well, I'm looking forward to you wearing the red nose next week.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's see. Who is this? Trench saying to Teresa, "Hi, every time the show ends, I have more questions. Every time it starts, I can't remember any. LOL."
Oh.
and then Matthew says that you sound like Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Is that true?
I've heard that said before.
Oh, okay.
I personally don't think so, but if you're a fan of the show, it's a way to continue every week in a way.
I thought I sounded like George Clooney. No.
So moving on.
Okay.
And then Teresa loves your New York accent.
Actually, my New York accent.
Oh, I thought he was talking about.
I don't know. Evening Demos. I love his New York accents. So
I'm not sure who she's referring to. You or
well, I don't know. Like you have a good accent. You have a
I do. I just never figured it was a New York accent.
I definitely a part of it is I'm sure there's a New York accent in there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's pronounced certain words, any of which I cannot remember.
Right
now.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you. If it is towards me, thank you, Teresa. I grew up all over the United States. So as I developed my language skills, I picked up a lot of different accents. So I don't necessarily think that my accent is necessarily connected to one place, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I never really sensed that you had an accent. It's a pretty straightforward, sound.
I've had people tell me they cannot understand what I'm saying because of my accent, and that I honestly do not understand that. So
who said that? Is someone from American said that to you?
Yeah. But it was in Texas, so who knows?
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, what do we got?
Alexis publicly says, "I'm a Catholic, but want to convert to Orthodoxy. What do I do?"
Wow. What do I do? There's a kind of a wow. So let's spend the next 2 hours unpacking that. All right. Well, it's what you would do on any journey, right? Is that you would find somebody who knows what they're talking about. And that's a priest. Hopefully, after what I said, an inspiring priest, right? Not an uninspiring priest, but an inspiring priest. There are good books to read, but again, we don't want to become Orthodox because we have studied it under the microscope and we have said scientifically, wow, this looks very interesting and is good for me. This is something that is experiential, that we have to dive into. And the best way for that is what I see many of our people do here that come to our church is they immerse themselves into Orthodoxy. It is a faith of reason, but it is a faith of experience, and it's a faith of action. There's orthodoxy, and which is thinking about it, doxo, to think, and there's orthopraxis, which is to do, and both of those go together. So again, I would say that the first step is just Google. Am I allowed to use that as a verb? Because wasn't there a news story about Googling or something like that?
Nowadays, everybody will take it.
Everybody take it. So Google where your local Orthodox churches are. There's usually going to be either a Greek Orthodox church or an Antiochian church or an OCA church somewhere in your area. And go and visit. Make an appointment. See the priest. Say that I'd like to come. I would, again, hesitate to tell you to just walk into a liturgy because it's overwhelming. Okay, we are not Protestant by any means, and so you can find it a very overwhelming experience. That's why a little bit of preparation is at hand. Once you have experienced it, then there are certainly books that you can begin to read and understand what orthodoxy is. And usually a priest will guide you through some type of catechetical process. That process may lead to your conversion, but then again, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. What do you came into the Orthodox faith. What's your suggestions?
What you said.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Simple first step. Make an appointment with the priest of the church. Meet with him before you try to attend any liturgy, because it would be a culture shock.
Yes.
And that's the first step of that journey, I think.
And not just an ethnic culture shock, a religious culture shock.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, very much.
Right.
Yeah, and ask for someone to, I would say, ask for someone to sit with you because it's easy to get lost in the liturgy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is basically what I do with Presbytero. When somebody's new coming to the church, I will say Presbytero will greet you, and then she can sit with you and talk through.
Yeah. We have a follow-up to probably the most important question of the evening from Teresa, who said, I was talking about Father Demos. And which he followed up with...
Father Demos?
No, not Father Demos. I meant Father Maggos.
Oh, okay. All right.
Father Commodemos.
Well, Teresa, Father Demos is on his way. We're working on him, and he went from asking questions about our church to becoming the communications director. Now he's the youth minister, and then within a year or so, he's going to become deacon. So he is well on the path of the Father Demos. So, Teresa, you're not far off.
Hey, who knows? I might have a kid soon, too. So
That's
Carol Flower asks, thanks so much for answering my question about different melodies of liturgy. So it's Byzantine chant, Slavonic, or Romanian. Thank you. God bless.
right. I mean, and I would probably add to that Arabic, right? Antiochian. So
so it's you would say that we have a mix of all four? Because the question is is it a Byzantine chant we do, a Slavonic, or Romanian?
Oh, no. What we do here is we do Byzantine chant. But because now we have somebody in our choir from Jerusalem Bethlehem, he chants in Arabic, but in the Byzantine style, and you'll hear a slight difference. So that there is a slight difference there too.
Yeah.
So now we have two styles in our church.
Amazing. During Christmas, we have a chanter from Bethlehem.
Yeah, isn't that wow? Yeah.
All right. Earth Science asks, Jesus said that Elijah had already come again for the second time before Jesus came, and that the people did not recognize him. Is this not the concept of reincarnation that Jesus mentioned? Since this idea is expressed by Jesus in both Matthew and Mark, then in John we read that John the Baptist denies being the prophet Elijah. Now, who is lying? What is the truth?
So it's not reincarnation, because reincarnation is coming back as somebody else. But Elijah has come back as Elijah. So this is not reincarnation. He's not reincarnating anything. He is Elijah, as Jesus will come back. All right? So a prophet like Elijah a prophet like Elijah will come back. This is why now the Jews wait for Elijah. This is why the seed is there, because Elijah is coming. So when Jesus says that, he is saying now that the prophecy will be fulfilled. And here am I as the prophecy, all right? But it was John who was the last prophet, so he was the one who was baptizing with water, all right, for the forgiveness of sins, all right? And in that sense, they were thinking, this makes sense. This is our last prophet, so this is now Elijah, or John the Baptist in the form of Elijah, who is now come. And John the Baptist said, no, this is not the case. So we're not referring exactly. Jesus was pointing to himself, using the prophecies that were saying that a person of Elijah will return.
But may I add, the premise of the question I kind of take issue with, because if my memory is correct, Elijah never died. So how can he be reincarnated if he never died? He was taken up to heaven. Well,
that's okay. Yeah. That's a good. I always get Elisha and Elijah confused again. Okay, so he was right, and he was no more, right? Okay, so, did he bodily? Can he bodily reappear? I mean, I don't.
I mean, look at Transfiguration.
That's right, because we have there Elijah and Moses appearing with Jesus. Exactly right. Okay. In the form of bodies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you're right. It's not reincarnation, because they are who they are, right? That's never changed.
Yeah, okay. Reincarnation is you're born, and it's from birth. You don't just suddenly appear the next day. So it'd be like Jesus appearing after the crucifixion to the apostles, and them saying, "Oh, he's been reincarnated." That is not reincarnation.
Right, as we understand it, correct.
Mm-hmm. All right. Aaron says, "Hi everyone," and this is not really a question, but a recommendation for spiritual reading, the Unseen Warfare Trilogy by Father Jack N. Sparks, a phenomenal read.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you heard that?
No, I have not. I thought he was going to say Father Seraphim at first.
We have shout outs from Creedmoor from Wyoming. Welcome, Wyoming.
Wyoming, all right. I think they're getting a lot more snow in Wyoming than we are here.
We got more snow in the last couple of days than we did during the 2 big winter storms that hit us. Isn't that
that's true. Oh my goodness.
All right. Nicholas has a question. If you're a member at a new calendar church, after church, can you go to the old calendar? It says attached church. Is that allowed? What is attached?
Well, yeah, I guess I'd have to know what attached means,
or an after church. I don't know if that was a misprint. It's the after church and attached church. That's kind of strange.
Well, I mean, the only thing I'm thinking of is if you've already gone to an Orthodox liturgy, whether it's old calendar or new calendar, it's an Orthodox liturgy. So I don't know why you'd be going to 2 liturgies, right? I guess that's where I'm a little confused.
Maybe those are passionate and doing it in the most traditional way they feel like they need to. Or, there could be a number of different reasons if you're that passionate about the religion to go to 2 services on a Sunday.
Yeah, but I think that's over piousness. I don't see a need. I don't see a need for that. Now, if they want to go there because they like the people better at the old calendar church and they want to go for coffee hour, hey, I'm all about that. Or if they want to alternate, they want to go one Sunday to the old calendar church and then they want to go to a new calendar. I could see that, but I don't.
But the point is, there's no discrepancy if you go to churches that do it one way or the other.
No, old calendar is going to be longer. I'm telling you that right now. It's going to be a longer service. All right. But I don't really see the point of needing to go to 2 services. But alternating the services, I don't see any problem in that.
I mean, I haven't seen you kick people out,
Yeah, right.
Which calendar do you belong to?
Which calendar do you belong to, right? Yeah. Because as far as the liturgy goes, there's going to be no difference between the 2 services. And there should not be any difference between the 2 services.
All right. Next up is Peter Budicek.
Wow. Is that really real?
I know.
Oh, okay.
Definitely spelled differently.
Okay. Yes, it's spelled different.
That'd be too funny.
Peter asks, are all the Orthodox patriarchs and popes, not pubs, as the wonderful spell check chain does, in union with each other just except for Rome?
Well, people would like to believe, Orthodox would like to believe that beautiful unity exists between the Orthodox patriarchs. And unfortunately, that is not necessarily the case. And certainly the war in Ukraine has definitely put that unity under the microscope with the Patriarchate of Moscow, which technically is not the original 5 patriarchates, right? There's disagreement, certainly disagreement, excommunication by Patriarch Kirill to our Patriarch Bartholomew, but among the others, Patriarch of Jerusalem, Constantinople, Antioch, and Alexandria, there is a good degree of tolerance. Now, there has been some issues with Antioch and with Constantinople for geographically imposing themselves into the area. So there was an area in Africa where Bartholomew was consecrating churches, and the Patriarch of Antioch said, "Well, what are you doing there?" And so that caused some rifts too. So there is a tolerable sense of unity between the other 4 patriarchs. There is a difficult unity between Moscow and the rest of the Orthodox. So it's almost like we have almost kind of, to some extent, the same degree of tolerance with some of the others that we have with Rome. So, I mean, they don't have a pope, obviously, but there is some difficulty. So that unity is not as good as you think it is.
So the difficulty between Moscow and the rest, was that prior to the war in Ukraine, or was that
It was yes. It was developing because Constantinople saw that Patriarch Kirill seemed to be getting a little too cozy with Putin, and that really came to light with the Ukrainian conflict.
We got a shout out from Retro Report saying that they're from Ohio. We got Ohio and Wyoming so far.
Ohio, all right.
And they complimented your hat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. All right, Aaron, first question. There has been some criticism regarding the recent ecumenical prayer service held in New York by Archbishop L.P. the Foros. It has been harshly criticized by some as heretical, praying alongside,
those not in communion with us and so forth. Your thoughts?
Well, okay. Clearly Jews and Muslims are not in communion with us, right? I mean, but this goes to the heart of this idea of an ecumenical dialogue. There is nothing that stops us from praying together to the same God. We are careful, or at least we attempt to be careful, that we do not call these services. We are not participating in a Jewish service or in an Islamic service. These are all men of God who now have come together and have said a prayer together, but not in an organized fashion. Now, again, I know that sounds like semantics. Well, wait a minute now. They're getting together. You can call that a service you want, but we don't see that as a Vesper service, a Matin service, a Thersayon service, a liturgy. We don't see it as within the ordo, as we would call the rubrics of the Orthodox Church. So certainly there are people that reject any kind of dialogue with those who are heteroorthodox. But this is not the stand that our patriarch has taken, nor it is the stand that he expects any of our archbishops to take.
All right. Trench asks for your thoughts on Christ's blood was found, a report states, and it states that Christ has 24 chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 1 from God, unlike the 46 as most people have. Info won't be shown until the end so that people believe without proof. They say, is that a just reason? Christ even said he did miracles so that people believe, so miracles are okay. Others say to use the blood to bring Christ back.
What, like Jurassic Park? Like what do you like use the blood to clone Jesus?
Yeah, and so again, you're probably going to be able to answer this too, but if we get caught up in the idea of proving that Jesus exists, then I think we're going. I know that we are going down the wrong road. So there is a point where science can no longer help us, right? And so I would be curious to see the data on the exact number of chromosomes that they were able to obtain.
Well, how do they know that it's Jesus' blood to begin with?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and I'm even giving them that.
And 2,000 years old. I hardly think it would be viable.
Yeah, so I think that discussions like that lead us away from what Ratzinger is talking about, where this is theology in crisis, because this is not who we are as Christians, is to go and search for physical evidence of Christ, because none of the Gospels talk about any kind of physical evidence, and so that doesn't lead us anywhere. And what leads us somewhere is what is in our creed. I believe.
The science fiction aspect of cloning Jesus to begin with, I say it because it's here, but it's, if there was on a crazy level the opportunity to do that, wouldn't that be one of the most heretical things that we could possibly do? The hubris of us to try to recreate Jesus ourselves?
Well, clearly.
I mean,
clearly. I mean, and to what ends would we do that? I mean, right?
It's
But it wasn't that.
an interesting thought experiment.
But wasn't that Dan Brown's whole thing? I mean, wasn't that Dan Brown's thing in Da Vinci Code? Right, that Mary was the vessel, and she had kids, and so Jesus actually has descendants through her, right?
There was no mention of cloning Jesus.
Oh well, that's true.
The idea in that book, which is posited an idea from the 1980s, if I remember correctly, was that the Holy Grail itself is not a physical grail, it is the bloodline of Jesus.
Yes, correct, yes.
Which the Orthodox don't believe necessarily.
No.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there in case somebody thinks
yes, we do not believe that, right.
All right. And then I skipped over this. I apologize. Carla states, just burned my finger. Can't get my finger out of the water. It burns. And now they talk about fire.
We also talked about clowns, so you should be very lucky that one of them didn't burst through the door.
That's right. Yeah, town clowns, in fact.
Yeah. Town clowns.
Oh, man.
All right. Next up is Sub2568. Hi, Father. What are your thoughts on Chaldean Catholics?
I mean, to my understanding, these are Catholics who are from Iran, right? These are Iranian Catholics.
Iran or
is that Iraq?
Or Iraq. Thought it was Iraq.
Is it Iraq? Okay.
You might be right, but I'm not sure.
Well, it's Iraq or Iran, right? I don't really have thoughts other than they practice the Catholic faith. I've met many Chaldeans, and there wasn't anything unusual about their practice. I mean, if anything, they may be a bit closer to Byzantine Catholic, let's say, than Roman Catholic. But other than that, I mean, I don't have a bad opinion or a good opinion of them. I mean, I just see them as Catholic Christians.
Mm-hmm. Did we have a Chaldean church in Flint?
Yes. We had, and I think that is, no, wait a minute. I was going to say that's the Melkite Church, but no, those are Byzantine Catholics and say it again.
Chaldean.
Chaldeans are not that. They're not from that particular area of the Middle East.
Okay.
We had a follow-up was pointed out by Dionysia. An extra chromosome in the human body is associated most of the cases with severe disease, actually, and that 46 chromosomes are actually 23 pairs of chromosomes. So that's where the difference between 20 and 40 comes from. In the earlier question?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up.
I just got... No, that's fine. Yeah. I just got bogged down in the answer.
In the science, yeah. Because it's unlike the 46 that most chromosomes most people have, and that's what is being pointed out, the 23 chromosomes are actually a pairing, so it is 46.
It's 46, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dionysia.
Oh, so is that yours?
That's mine.
Okay. Only because my mom said that she's going to text in a question. She doesn't know necessarily how to use the YouTube.
There's my phone. So
we'll check near the end of the show for your mom's question.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up is James Young. What is your view on demonic possessions? I have faced evil becoming a catechumen to an old calendar church.
Well, certainly as Orthodox, we believe that demonic possession can occur. I mean, we see it biblically, and we see Jesus now removing demons, and we see then the apostles after being able to cast out a demon. So there's no question that is possible. The question, at least within the Greek Archdiocese, is that always the answer to every strange behavior? And the answer is no. sometimes that strange behavior is just due to mental imbalance. All right. And so until that can all be worked out, demonic possession is always the last idea. But certainly we do believe that that can occur, and that's why at seminary we, as many of you have already heard me say, we are explicitly told that we as parish priests are not to involve ourselves in any type of
exorcism.
I was going to say demonic removal, but exorcism. Okay, that there is a person within the archdiocese whose wheelhouse that is.
So do you think that as the world, more and more people move away from God, do you think that there'll be an increase in demonic possession?
I mean, I could see that because they are more and more susceptible to that. I mean, now, I don't think, and so I'm saying yes, I could see that, but with and Father Kalivas says, and Schmemann says, our crisis is that people are already making God less relevant. So there's not that much work for the demon to do. Okay? So there's really no need for the demonic possession because God is already becoming irrelevant in their lives. Where demons work the hardest is those who have the faith. And that's where you see that demonic possession. You don't need to possess somebody that doesn't believe in God. He's already there.
Can I ask a follow-up on this real quick? Because it's the idea of demonic possessions, and it's a two-part follow-up. So the first thing is, in popular media, have you ever seen a depiction of a demonic possession that is, for the sake of not finding a better word, accurate?
No, I have not seen that.
So, like when we watch films like The Exorcist or Exorcism of Emily Rose, films like that depict that are supposedly based on true stories, or Exorcist was inspired by another story. How close to that is it? How close are those depictions to what we might expect?
And our professors at the seminary were very quick to say that's all Hollywood. That is not in any way how exorcisms happen. Because what they leave out is that whole process that occurs beforehand to scientifically evaluate what is the cause. The other thing that it doesn't it leaves out is the fact that demon strength is leagues beyond human strength. So this idea of one priest holding up the cross and demons are much, much stronger than that, and that's why no exorcism occurs without a battery of priests there. And then the third thing is that demonic exorcism happens over a course of months to years, and not like in the movies where it's one thing and he holds it up and bing bang and he's gone. No, it takes time to do this, but those three things are very boring in a film, so they're not going to do that.
Well, that leads me to the second part of the question. Okay, so the way that demon possession has been on the forefront, depicted in modern culture, has been of somebody, going wild and saying many things. Is that the only form of demonic possession that we see? I mean, I would imagine that a demon possessing somebody, and yet that person maintaining the level of communication and critical thinking would be much more effective, because you don't realize that person is a demon, is possessed by a demon. Does that concept exist in Orthodoxy? Yeah.
So in all the cases, and again, the priest who is like the archdiocese exorcist, okay. I mean, he sat down and he talked with us, and we asked him those same questions. You always know there is something wrong with the person. So it has, at least from what he said, it has never been the case that, he's just or she is a rational, clear thinking, like
a sleeper agent.
A sleeper agent, right. It's never like that. Now sometimes they do become wild, okay? But other times they just become obsessively depressed. Window curtains come down. They sit in their room all day. So it's clearly evidence something is going on.
Now, those exorcisms in the movies are usually a Catholic priest. Is the Catholic, do the Catholics, is it done the same way that the Orthodox do, where it's years of,
Is it the same process?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure of. I'd have to ask my my Catholic priest buddies about that.
I love when we can bring a Catholic exorcist on.
Yeah, we could have him sit in and.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not kidding. I would serious.
No,
I would
think that-
love to
yeah.
see that. I think many in our chat would too.
Yes. All right. Aaron says, over a week ago, Russian Orthodox hockey player Ivan Provorov was bashed by the left for declining to wear LGBTQ colors on his jersey for Pride Night. He did not use, I think is what is meant to say there, he did not use harsh language of any kind, just politely declined because of his religious beliefs. He obviously did nothing wrong, yet he was vilified.
That's true. He was very much and still is being vilified.
Yeah, they think he should be fired, he should be fined.
Okay, and we are told that this is the danger of being a Christian. I mean, Jesus Christ himself says, the world will hate you as it has hated me because you love me. I mean, you cannot expect approval from the world, okay? Just like there's certain things that I have said on this show that are Orthodox dialogue. They're not going to be appreciated by all of our listeners, all right? But it is what it is. And so, yes, you are going to be persecuted for this. I mean, and I 100% support the fact that he took a stand for his Orthodox faith.
No, it wasn't Christian faith. Was he Orthodox?
No, it was
Yeah,
Orthodox. It was Orthodox.
My bad.
So he took a stand, and as was very carefully pointed out, he didn't do it in an offensive way. All he said was, "This is not something that my faith allows me to participate in." Okay, and there are many things that I am not allowed to participate in. All right, and I will be persecuted for that. So this should not be news to the world.
A lot of people have been comparing it to the Seinfeld episode. I don't know if you're a fan of Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
There was an episode where Kramer, I think it was the AIDS urban. He was marching with everybody.
Right.
So he was on their side, but he didn't want to wear the ribbon, and everybody turned on him. They all just jumped on him because he wouldn't wear this ribbon. Personally speaking, regardless, I think this isn't the question of you're not supporting us, because he was very kind in his words. It's a question of being compelled to wear something that you do not want to, regardless of religion.
Right.
This is like, where do we draw that line? Like, I mean, being compelled to say things, being compelled to do things, these are big questions our time is facing. And as a Christian, what else would you recommend if any of us find ourselves in that situation? What else would you recommend that we do? I mean, the thing is, it's a follow-up part of this. He's continuing. He did nothing wrong, but is still being vilified. Like, okay, we know that we need to expect that as Christians. What do we do about it? How? Like, what's the next step? Do we sit there and bear it, or what do we do?
Well, as Orthodox, we are very. You'll hear it said over and over again that we are a silent witness faith. So we're not one to stand on a street corner. We're not one to be intolerant and say, oh, gays are bad, and forget about abortion. So we're not those who do that. But we are a silent witness. So there's really not. You can help out, but I don't see anything more that he could have done. He did what he did, and now he's going to accept the consequences of that actions, as all of us will accept the consequences of our actions. This is why I tell our parishioners, if you're in a restaurant, and it is your custom as a family to make the sign of a cross and say a small prayer, then why should you not do this when you're outside in a restaurant? But not in a pious, not in an overly pious, stand up, create attention, everybody please be quiet, we're making the Lord's Prayer now. We don't want that. But there's nothing wrong in you holding on to a tradition that you have, which is you silently make the sign of the cross, Lord Jesus Christ, we bless this food, and then you're done.
I'm not trying to be have a debate here, but I'm gonna that's as one of my roles here. I want to point out other options or other arguments, I guess.
So then he is the devil's advocate or Satan.
That's what I was trying to avoid saying, actually.
Okay.
So I'm glad you just went for it. Here's the thing. So our role is to be silence advocates. I mean, just take the consequences, even if they're not righteous. I mean, what is our role?
Well, I mean, okay, and I said it before. So I said that Orthodoxy is a thinking faith, but it's also Orthopraxis. It's a practical. It's an action faith. So you have to do something. But those actions have to be measured and appropriate to the situation. His actions were absolutely appropriate, okay? Now, let's say they fire him from the team for that. Then his action is, this is an this is an unjust firing, and I'm going to fight this. That's his action, okay? But his action is not to say, I'm not wearing the shirt, and on top of that, I'm going to wear a shirt that says I'm anti-LBGT. That is not an appropriate response.
That is the trap. That is the worst battle to bring to this table at the moment.
Is meet intolerance with intolerance.
Well, you're supposed to lead your life as an example of being of Christ, and Christ would not put down an entire group of people just so he can stand up and say, I am right. I would assume that being Christ-like would be lead by example and show this is how, this is the benefits and the good that come from our religion from Christ.
I agree, 100%. But there's nothing wrong with him if treated unjustly to ask for justice to be served, meaning that I'm going to fight this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I left out, there was one more part from Aaron. It said, I know we're called to love one another, but that does not mean participating in something I don't believe in. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
I agree. Right.
Yeah.
Not that Jesus Christ said it, but in seminary, we're taught we don't have to like them, but we have to love them.
All right. Next one is from Dionysia Dimitrakopoulos. I'd like to try to say that because that's
she's a parishioner, I think.
Yes, she is. Good evening. I heard about this quote, and the quote is, if there is a God, he will have to beg my forgiveness. This phrase was carved on the walls of a concentration camp's cell during World War II by a Jewish prisoner. What is your opinion? And thank you very much for the wonderful show.
You will have to
beg my forgiveness.
So the point of this, I believe, is that at the concentration camp, the people suffered. They were not just suffering; they're surrounded by suffering, and that this was written. I've heard this story. This was written on the wall because of how much they suffered. That when they die, that God would be the one to have to forgive for not helping them. They felt abandoned by God. This person, at the very least.
Well, wasn't that the whole movie of putting God on trial?
Yeah, there was a book.
That was
Trial of God.
The Trial of God. I mean, where the prisoner of war, where the Jewish prisoner of war actually put God on trial for not helping them.
I think, though, in the book, it's been so long since I read it, but I believe that this trial was actually was not World War II. I believe it was the
Oh.
pogrom. It was a Jewish pogrom that was happening somewhere, which I can't remember, and they
Oh, I thought it was the World War
I
II.
don't
It
think
wasn't.
so. I could be wrong.
What was the verdict?
Well, so what was suffered by all of humanity was suffered by God himself. So God has shared in all of our joy and all of our pain. And so so this is why part of the reason why we do not believe in the Protestant theory of propitiation or expiation, meaning that Jesus is offered as a sacrifice to please God. That's not how Orthodox see it. Orthodox see it as that out of the suffering of man, what God has done is enfleshed himself and gone through an agonizing death, torture and death, to redeem us, meaning that he has suffered along with us. And that man's inhumanity to man is the state that we live in right now. It is the state, okay? And it is a difficult question to answer with no really good answer of, well, why doesn't God just stop it all right now? Okay? But this is because, as Jesus says, the king of the world right now is Satan. And
Prince of the world.
Prince of the world. Sorry, Prince of the world. So he is the prince of the world right now, and our suffering comes from that evil that is upon the earth. But there is a plan when God will now seek retribution, and all of us now, for those of us who understand who God is and what he has done, will then be in his kingdom.
There's a follow-up. David Maligo says, God eventually did help them in 1945. But I was actually thinking about beyond, and it's I feel like it's great hubris for me to try to interpret the reason, but I can say that one thing that did result from the Holocaust is it has kept the West at bay from repeating that mistake for a long time. So it is, I'm not saying that's the reason, but one of the things that did come about from this horrific and very public incident, to this day, we haven't, the West has tried to stray very, very far from getting anywhere near that kind of eradication. We have taken that.
Hopefully, as a historic lesson.
As a bloody lesson, we took that. But that is something to think about, at least. Now,
many of our saints, both East and West, have undergone absolutely gruesome tortures, and each one of those stories, right? I mean, that's not to say that they were not fearful, that they wanted that torture or accept that torture, but the Synaxarion each time tells us that they understood where this evil came from, and that they wanted to be released into the hands of their God.
Okay. All right. Next up, Grey Panther. Hi, Father and Presbytera. What is the reason behind blessing the Lord? Is he not already blessed and the source of blessings? Just curious and hoping to understand better. It's a good question.
I love that question.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
We praise you, we bless you, we glorify you. We sing that every Sunday.
Well, bless the Lord, O my soul, right? Wow.
It's a very simple question, but it's there is a level of commitment that one makes when they make that statement. The God knows he's blessed already, but there is a difference between, I'm going to have the priest pray for me, or I'm going to pray for to God. It's I think it comes down to an individual relationship.
Well,
Is blessing in the same meaning of God's blessings on us?
yeah, I have read this, and I'm trying to recall what the answer is. That's why I'm purposely hesitating in a very poor way.
Do you want to come back to this next week?
Yeah, because there is an answer to this.
Or what's your take?
Well, my take is the answer that I read, and that's why I don't want to just.
You don't want to.
There is the answer to this, but you're right. The simple questions tend to be the hardest questions, right?
Well, I know that you want to be very, very accurate in how you answer that, but like I said, like for the way that I view it, it's because of that, because you're committing a relationship by saying the words, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know how that answers the question. Is why would we say?
What is the reason behind blessing the Lord? Is he not already blessed? I'm saying what I'm suggesting is God doesn't necessarily, he seeks it out, but but it's not like when I pray and I have that connection with God, I'm making a commitment specifically. So it is necessary that those words, like certain words, are said. Not like a magic potion, but make a commitment.
But I think it's also, I was going to go that it was an acknowledgement that he is blessed. So I don't. So that's why I was struggling here, because I don't think the word is I am blessing God. I think it's blessed is God. Yeah. It's a statement that I am making that this is something that he is. This is a description of a characteristic of him.
So,
as opposed to, I am casting my blessing upon God.
So that reframes this idea. So it's basically an educational statement at that point.
No, it's an affirmation statement.
Okay.
Right? I'm affirming this and saying, yes, God is blessed. Blessed is God. Okay.
But I mean educational by you're letting people know.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. I see what you're saying. Yes. Mm-hmm. But not that it is an action that is emanating from me. Right.
All right.
Passive participle.
You're going for grammar. I get it.
So Trent asks, what do you think when priests say they talk to God and get an answer, and for us to just ask and God will talk to us and answer and give us what we ask for? But what about when it does not work?
So I don't believe that. We as Orthodox believe that, as Jesus said, whatever you ask in my name, you shall receive. As I have said before on the show, the problem is that we don't listen. What we are listening for is the answer we want. And I'm the perfect example of that, because many times throughout my life, I have asked for something and I have received it, but it wasn't what I asked for. And then in revelation, looking back, I realized, that is what I needed. So prayers are always answered. It is us who don't listen properly for the answer or allow the Holy Spirit to enter us so that we can live the answer.
So when people say, well, it didn't work because God didn't answer me because I didn't get what I asked for. Well, if you didn't get what you asked for, isn't that God saying no?
Yeah, but I don't think the answer is just no. The answer is no, but here is your answer. Here is what you need. So no, this is not what you need, but here is what you need. So I don't think God's answer is no. I think God's answer is no, but here is what you're going to
Why
get.
couldn't it just be no?
Well, give me a situation where it should be just no.
I want a new car. I want a yacht. I've always dreamed of having a yacht. Please give me a yacht. No.
Okay, but what is there's always a reason behind why I want the car, why I want the yacht.
Because it's cool.
So what you need is, remember that Twilight Zone episode? I have what you need, right? Okay. And the great prophet Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, right? So that's where I think that this fits in.
Okay.
So what you need is humility, okay?
I guess. Okay. My point was just people say they didn't get an answer, but maybe the answer was no. Maybe God just says no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You can't argue with Saint Jagger.
You know, but many times the answer that I've been given is I have been humbled because I think very highly of myself. I mean, you've seen that, right? I've done a lot of things where I think I'm really great.
Okay, next question.
And then I'm humbled.
This is a very perfect follow-up question because that's a comparison.
So Donis Your You asks, says, "Hi, Father. What is your take on TV shows like 700 Club, Joel Osteen, shows like that?"
Joel Osteen, I don't see that as any more than self-help. I mean, I don't see anything in there that goes beyond self-help. There's not an educational value to that because whatever he says makes people feel good about themselves. Again, going back to what Kalivas said, Christianity is no longer dangerous. When everything is fine, okay, and you just live the way that you want and everything is fine, that's not Christianity. So that's the Joel Osteen part. The other one, the 700 Club, way too much focus on revelation. It's always about revelation and how everything's lining up for revelation. And we don't spend as much time. I'd like to hear him talk about the book of Matthew or the book of John. That would be nice.
I'm also personally wary of any priest that has the most expensive car in a parish.
That is true too. That's a very good point. Mm-hmm.
Unless they got a good deal on it or for free.
Yeah, but still, like if you're a priest, you're the shepherd of your flock. You shouldn't be, that particular, owning the best, the nicest car. Right. What is that saying when you're saying, I'm going to help the poor, I'm going to do all this, and then the same church that's paying you, you have enough money to go and buy a car, like a Lamborghini?
Well, I've not seen a priest with a Lamborghini. I have seen BMW.
Well, I'm talking about figures like Joel Osteen.
Oh, Joel.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I said car because it's a smaller scale than this. But
right.
At the same time, what message are you sending to your parish if you're living in luxury and they're struggling?
But if you're preaching prosperity gospel, then that makes sense,
yes.
Right? Then look what God has blessed me with. Because
see, that's the twist I was leading to with this. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on prosperity gospel?
I think it's a bunch of crap.
Why?
Because it makes no sense. Because there are so many examples that if I live a good life, I don't get prosperous. In fact, I go bankrupt, and people hate me, and people beat me up, and I eat cat food all day.
Well, the thing
it doesn't work.
It just strikes me as two words just jump to mind whenever I hear prosperity gospel. The basis of it is I want.
Well, yeah, okay, Good point. Yes. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a good summary. I'm going to use that. I told you, Father Demos.
No.
All right. Next up is Dylan Fluet. I'm Roman Catholic who is in love with the Eastern faith. I would like to learn more about theosis. Any recommendations?
I think that's Athanasius, Saint Athanasius. There's quite most Orthodox websites will have something where they will speak about theosis, but I would probably start with Saint Athanasius. I'm trying to remember which If you do Athanasios and Theosis, you'll come up with it. But I'm trying to remember one of his apologies in there, and he speaks about that. So I always start with the fathers of the church first, and then proceed from there.
All right, and then there's a comment from David that there are videos online of real exorcisms by Russian Orthodox priests. I don't know if I'd watch that. That would be too...
Have you ever witnessed?
No.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah. So, from my understanding, most, at least from the Catholic side, most exorcisms are done behind closed doors. In fact, a recent controversial documentary came out where they said they would actually show the exorcism, and then they don't.
Oh.
So, I'm a little confused as to why in the Russian Orthodox Church, why it would even be allowed to be filmed.
That's and so those become suspect. Then, right?
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Just because somebody did online, come on, the word exorcism, Christianity, religion, those are keywords that are going to do very well in search engines.
Sure.
Especially on Halloween.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
All right, Nick Carvelis, do you need to make the sign of the cross every time you say the Jesus prayer?
No, absolutely not. In fact, the monks are the perfect example. They're working in the fields when they're saying this. It's that rhythm that they get. They're not making the sign of the cross when they're saying that. They're working in the field. So there is no reason why you must make the sign of the cross during the Jesus prayer.
All right, and then Seb 2568 asks, have you done a wedding ceremony in your church with a Chaldean Catholic person?
Well,
I can't.
Right.
But you have done weddings where you haven't where they've been marrying somebody that has a different non-Greek culture, and you've incorporated some of that.
Well, okay. Yeah. Let me take that back. If the person is Catholic, I can marry them in the church. I have not married somebody who is Chaldean Catholic, but I have certainly married people where one is Orthodox and one is Catholic. Certainly I have done that, okay? But I've not done it with Chaldean. So now your question was...
Well, I was going to say, because you have done marriages like that where people have a different background, a different culture, and you've incorporated...
I can incorporate, yes. So I would incorporate something from Iraq of what their traditions would be. Right.
Can you give us an example? Of a time that you did incorporate some other piece of culture?
Yeah, two in fact. One was with my spiritual father. He was Scottish, and so we did the
wedding.
No, what's it called? The Arch of Sabers. Mm-hmm. So we did the Arch of Sabers, where all of his groomsmen were lined up, and the bride came down the aisle under the sabers, and then we incorporated. Everybody was wearing the kilt. And then there was some other part of the whether he played the bagpipe or something like that.
I think either coming in before the wedding started.
Yeah, they piped them in and they piped them out. That was one. The other one, which I thought was really neat, was she was a Catholic from Mexico. And their tradition, like ours is the Stephana, right? The crowning, right? Mm-hmm. And their tradition was a pearl encrusted lasso, and they draped the lasso over each one of them, and that was her tradition. And so we did that, and then we walked around.
Do a lot of Greek Orthodox churches, is this a practice of trying to create a more, I hate to use this word, but a more inclusive wedding, like something that's there for everybody? Is that something that is frowned upon?
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not frowned upon, but certainly most of the priests laugh at me for doing stuff like that. So Orthodox priests tend to be much more traditional. That here is what the service is. But I mean, I love culture, and I love different culture. So I tell them I can't change the words. I can't change the music. But what I can, won't change it. Okay, but I can do whatever you want with the culture, because culture is not religion.
It's a great way to show people that It would ask the first question you always get asked: do you have to be Greek to be Greek Orthodox? It's a good way to show people that Orthodoxy is a religion for the world.
Right, right. Oh, and then the last one was the Ethiopian wedding. Oh, wow. That was incredible. So an Ethiopian wedding, Orthodox, is nothing at all like a Greek wedding. In fact, it makes a Greek wedding look like a funeral. I mean, the Ethiopians know how to have a wedding.
Yeah. All right. Nicholas asks, are you doing a fundraiser to help the people of Ukraine during the difficult time?
Well, okay. So the answer to that question is no, we have not. There is certainly quite a bit that our church has been doing within the Rochester area and helping, and that's where the focus seems to be. I have really been my policy is that I let the parish outreach. Now, they must outreach, but I let the parish outreach. And so situations here at home, and especially with orphaned kids or abused mothers, that seems to be what is very important to this parish, and I let them do that. So not every church has to collect for the Ukraine. Okay, I mean, there's plenty that are doing that, and that's not to say that's a bad thing. But I let the community here select what is important to them, but they must outreach.
All right. Let's see. Where did my question go? Doric or Doruk? I'm not sure how that's said. What does God became man so that we might become God? What does that mean, sir?
That is another one of that is Saint Athanasius' quote in his discussion of theosis. So that is the one-liner for theosis. God became man so that we can become God.
God became man so that we might become God.
All right. So he doesn't mean, and Athanasius will say that he doesn't mean we're going to become God. This is not like science. No, do you become God in Scientology, or do you just get a planet? I'm trying to remember how that.
No, you're thinking about Mormon.
Okay. Oh, Mormons. All right. So it's not like that at all. But because man is incapable of having a true relationship with God, because of his transcendence, God now he comes to us. He becomes man. He comes to us so that we can approach him. And that we approach him in a living sense. What we have in the Jewish Torah is we have a law. A law tells us how we can approach God, but and there is a relationship there, but it tends to be a more legal relationship. So what we have in the fulfillment, this is Orthodox Christianity, in the fulfillment of God's covenant, he now comes to us as man so that we can complete and know our final covenant with him, as it was with Adam and Eve.
Right, and then
It was a real quick follow-up to the earlier question where we talked about Greek Orthodoxy and Greek Orthodoxy as far as culture. Doric asks why the Orthodox churches are named by national identity.
Oh, so I'll give you the bishop's answer on this one. They are indicated so that you will know the rubrics or the ordo of the liturgy that you will experience. Okay? So there is something that I am very familiar with. I am familiar with the Byzantine Rite Orthodox liturgy. That's what I am familiar with. That's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I know. Okay? When I see a church that is listed as a Slavic Orthodox church or Ukrainian church, I know that I am getting the Slavic ordo, which I do not know. I don't know what that is. Now, again, I understand the liturgy is the same, but the way that the liturgy is carried out has different aspects to it. So what that does is it doesn't tell us don't or go away if you're not Romanian or go away if you're not Greek. What it tells us is here is the liturgy rubrics that you can expect when you come to our church. That's all it means.
all right.
Just like Protestantism, right? You know, why call it Methodist, Presbyterian, Dutch Reformed? It tells you the type of service you're going to see when you go. Sorry. I just had to get that out.
Okay, well, good. Teresa commented, wouldn't blessing the Lord be similar to saying that we love him?
But I think the real question is the phrase, blessed is the Lord. Because we can also say loved is the Lord, and we're back in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, love is an action. Love is something that we are directing at God. Blessed Lord is an affirmation.
Yeah.
We are just making a statement. It doesn't imply love. Love, saying I love the Lord means that I am taking a positive and direct action. Anybody can say the Lord is blessed. So I'd make a distinction there.
Bernice has a commentary on about.
Ooh, that's a new name. Haven't heard that.
Talking about
Bernice Sanders.
Bernice Sanders, talking about Joel Osteen, this and that. And Bernice says, at least they, Osteen and others like them, at least they're reaching out to people. The Orthodox don't invite people to church. When I attend, I get dirty looks from some. I try to ignore it.
Yeah, how can you argue with that? I mean, come on, you can speak to that, right? I mean, on the whole, Protestant churches are extremely inviting, right? I mean, there's always and when we've went, right?
Oh, they've run down the aisle to intercept us to say hello as we're walking inside the church. This is my brother's church and my mom's church. We went there, and
So they're running up to greet you. So Bernice, right?
Yes.
Okay. She's absolutely she's made a very truthful statement about one of the challenges of the Orthodox Church where we're lacking is that we are hiding behind our ethnicity. So based on that last question, the way that it should be is this is a Greek rubric, or Byzantine rubric. This is a Slavic rubric. This is a Romanian rubric. We don't use it like that. We oftentimes do create the idea that you are not welcome here because you are not Greek, Romanian, not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, you were, right? Many Orthodox churches you felt welcome.
I am some.
How do you solve that problem?
It's the priest. It's the priest having to talk to, like you do it in a way where you compliment, and how welcoming they are. And here they are very welcoming. I have to say that.
Yes.
But you have been in some places, other places where you've said, "Oh, and they're so welcoming," and I'm thinking, really, they were. But I think by saying it's great that you're welcoming, it kind of makes the parish think about. It should be
right. When you kind of.
But it's just some of them are so cliquish, and it's.
But I mean, should we get away, like at a point in the future, should we get away from saying Greek Orthodox, Romanian Orthodox? Should we just be literally called the Orthodox Church?
No, I don't support. I don't support that at all because that rubric will not change. But I think what is important is recognizing that there can be goodness without Greekness, right? So during the liturgy, I have the gentleman from Bethlehem chant in Arabic. We do the Lord's Prayer in Arabic. I stand up there in my Scottish kilt. All right. So I want to be able to show that it's okay to not be Greek. And that's what we've been. And how many times have you heard, well, Khani, I make you Greek. Even though you're not Greek, I make you Greek. And we live, and so we accept that. I get it. We're Greek. Okay. But, it can become oppressive. Okay. Because that's all we ever taught. I am extremely proud of being Greek. But I love Scotland. I think it's great. I have nothing to do with Scotland, but I like it. I love it's great. I love eating Thai food. I am not Thai, but I love eating Thai food. So we got to get past that point where where only our ethnicity is great and nobody has anything else to offer. We got to get past that.
So I understand what you're saying about that we leave it on this on the name on the church so that people know, that when you come here, it's going to be the rubrics of the Greek Orthodox Byzantine liturgy, but that doesn't help those that are passing by and they go, oh, that church looks like this. Oh, Greek Orthodox, I have to be Greek. They don't know from the outside that if they go in, you're inclusive by doing all these different cultural things. How do we, what do we do about that? I mean, the most you can do is maybe at a festival, they come in to get the tour and you can not harp, I shouldn't say that, but you can stress.
There are harps in heaven. I've seen the cartoons.
You can stress that you don't have to be Greek. You don't have to be Greek, but I don't know, do we put a sign out that says, like all the other churches, all are welcome? You don't have to be Greek to come here.
Well, we'd have to, I mean, it's at some point, I guess maybe that's what will happen is that as it happened with the Catholic Church over time, is that there is no, it doesn't say Polish Catholic Church,
No,
it does
not that I've seen.
right, and so it may get to that point where it is just Annunciation Orthodox Church, St. George, or I think it probably will get to that point, and not until you go inside that you start to.
At our last church, right? There was a There was a faction that they wanted that off, the Greek Orthodox. They just wanted it to say,
Orthodox.
The Orthodox. They didn't want it to say Greek Orthodox. They were really pushing for that.
And the two other churches, St. Mary Magdalene's didn't say St. Mary Magdalene's Russian Orthodox Church, right? It just was St. Mary Magdalene's Orthodox Church. Father Matthew's Church, St. Nicholas, I'm trying to remember.
I think it just said
St. Nicholas Orthodox Church?
I think, it seems like the Antiochians and the OCA do not put on their churches.
No, I thought St. George did say Antiochian Orthodox Church. But anyway. Sorry.
All right. Yes. Enough of that. So the last, going back to Seb, would you say Chaldeans are part of Eastern Christianity like Greek Orthodox are?
Well, that I would say yes, because that area was the Byzantine Empire. So I would say yes. I have to go back into Chadwick's book and kind of look at the geography there. But it was Western Christianity was Rome and Europe, all right, and the Byzantine Empire included the lands of Iraq, Iran, modern day Turkey, so on and so forth. So yeah, I would say that those were originally Orthodox churches.
All right. Joe Jones asks, are there Orthodox churches in the USA that celebrate the liturgy in Spanish?
100%. In fact, a really good friend of mine, and I'm trying to remember what his Father Arbon. He's not our Father Arbon. He's something else.
No. Oh my gosh, I forgot now.
And he was second priest in Miami, and the reason that he became second priest there was because he grew up with a Panamanian father and Greek and a Greek mother, I think. So he was very fluent in Spanish, and they brought him there so that he does a liturgy in Spanish. So yes, we have, and especially out west, we have several parishes that offer a Spanish liturgy, divine liturgy. Yes.
All right. Doric asks, what if a person whose nation is not Orthodox or Christian wants to convert to Orthodoxy? Which church should he go to?
Okay, one more time now.
Okay, what if a person comes from a nation that is neither Orthodox or even Christian, but they want to become Orthodox? What church should they go to?
And which Orthodox church should I go to? Like if there's no French Orthodox, church. So if I'm French and I come here, where do I go? Which Orthodox church should I pick?
Well,
or if you're come from a Muslim country, they said not Christian.
Well, okay. So if you come from an Arab-speaking country, then the Antiochian Church is probably going to be your first choice because that's where you're most comfortable. You're going to hear it in your language. Obviously, there'll be some English there too, and the people will be closer to your custom. I mean, to your traditions. All right.
French. So if you're French.
So if you're European, I would say probably if you're European, then I think the Greek Orthodox Church is a good pick because the vast majority of the married couples are like us. One is more European descent and one is Greek. So I think you'd be very comfortable if you're from Europe to go to a Greek Orthodox church because you're going to find many kindred spirits there, even though you're going to find a lot of Greeks, as opposed to an Antiochian church and a Russian Orthodox church, Slavic church that tends to stay more married within their ethnicities. Now, the last thing is the Orthodox Church of America, the OCA Church, and that tends to be much more American, but still has the flavor of the Russian Orthodox Church. So that'd be my recommendation.
Or that pick the one that has the best food.
Well, that's clearly our church.
Yeah,
Then.
we'd be biased. We'd be biased.
Without, yeah.
So I'll just read it. It sounds like anyway. Michelle is the question about bless the Lord, O my soul, Psalm 103 or Psalm 34. I will bless my Lord constantly. I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Well, I think they're referencing in the Psalms where there's a quote that I believe David who says, "I will bless the Lord constantly," and maybe that's where the idea of continuing to bless the Lord, like that was the point of the question. Why should we say it if it already is? If he already knows his blessed, why do we have to keep saying it? And here we're instructed to do it constantly.
Yes, but it's an honor that we bestow upon him. It's respect that we bestow on him. I mean, in a rough way, I could equate it to, the title of president. I don't go up to the president and go, "Hey, Barack, what's going on, man? What are you doing?" I would say.
Well, he'd be very, very confused, Mr. Biden, if you did that.
Well,
He may not know.
So yeah, well, but I would offer that title out of respect, and God's title is blessed, right? So, or Lord, right?
All right, we got a shout out from Marissa. Hi, Marissa.
Hey, Marissa.
Just curious about the hat and wanting to say hi.
Curious about the hat. All right, the hat. That's why. Can you see that?
Sinatra, yeah.
Okay, that's why. Again, if she wasn't here for the beginning, that was custom made for me when I was in California. So,
your favorite part of the hat is the thing that nobody will ever see.
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I take the hat off, right?
Are you still looking, or should I?
You said Psalm 103, right?
102 or 103.
102 or 103.
Yeah, depending upon which.
Yeah. It will, according to Recce report, it's in both Psalm 102 and 103. They're going off of the Orthodox numbering of Psalms. So in the Western Bible, that's Psalms 103 and 104.
Yeah, and here it's 102.
And there it's 102.
Right. Yeah, bless the Lord, O my soul. Evloi psichimu, right? So blessed is my soul. Blessed is my soul from the Lord or to the Lord. Okay?
Seb asks, what language did Jesus speak? And do Mesopotamians still speak Jesus' language?
Well, okay, so we believe that he spoke Aramaic, but because he taught in the temple, we believe that he also spoke Hebrew.
I think Jesus spoke every language.
I'm sure Jesus could speak. Right.
Really? I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, walking around, probably those were the two languages he was using,
Well, he
right?
was going to use who was there. So,
Oh, yeah, right?
yeah. Let's see. What do we have? A couple minutes left, or?
No. Yeah, we have enough time for another question.
Okay. Oh, and Marissa would like to send you a cowboy hat. Would you like a cowboy hat?
A cowboy hat. That,
You say yes. If somebody from the West wants to
send you a cowboy hat.
you
Okay.
say yes.
I would like a cowboy hat. That'd be good. All right.
Thank you, Marissa.
Something. Look up Sam Elliott, and I want something that Sam Elliott would wear.
We'll talk about that later. Mig says, I don't have any questions this week, even with no show last week. Blessings to all, and thank you for the gift. Pray
Wow.
for good health for all.
Well, I will do. Thanks, Mig, and I'm glad that you got the package. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one last thing I did want to throw out. It's something that Bernice said, that she wishes that more the Vespers were better attended. It's a beautiful service, and she doesn't understand why the low attendance. I think maybe it's a very practical answer. The time it's the day of the week usually.
No, that's not the answer at all.
Uh-oh. What's the answer?
Well, for some, they don't. When our older parishioners, they don't like driving after dark, which is understandable. So they don't want to come. You're not going to get some people because of the time of day. Now in the summer, it stays light out till 9 o'clock. That's.
No, he has a very clever answer. I can tell.
When God ceases to be relevant, the need and desire for meaningful worship diminishes and slowly fades away. We must understand that faith and worship are inseparable, such that when one withers and dies, so does the other. Calivas.
That is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, you can make excuses about, well, it's too late, I've got things I've got to do, but the answer is, God has to be relevant to us.
So what words of encouragement would you send to your parish and other parishes about attending these events? How do we can sit here and say, oh, everybody's using excuses. What actions do we take to reinvigorate that spirit?
Well, it certainly is a joint effort between the priest and the parish. I've seen too many times where priests will just have these services, but nobody attends. Okay, so standing up on the solea and saying, "You've got to attend my Vesper services." Okay, so there needs to be some interest swelling in the parishioners. So I think the best, and we do see that when Lent starts. We tend to get lazy during the year, but when Lent starts, people become more active. I mean, we get good participation at the Hieretismi, the salutation services. People like to go to those services because they're in that Lenten mood. And the thing is, trying to carry that Lenten mood further, throughout after Pascha, that's what's really tough. I think to some extent, I don't think we're going to be able in America to recapture that Byzantine time, but we do capture it during that Lenten period.
Is there a misconception that a vesperal service is a lesser service than a divine liturgy?
Oh, yeah, because because the one question is, Father, can I receive communion? That's the question.
Yeah.
And Vespers and Orthros Matin service do not offer those. No service other than liturgy offers, the divine liturgy offers communion. And so kind of people are looking for that, all right? They know that service, and so so that when they hear that that's not going to happen, they're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes tonight's episode.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It was really nice to be back. Wait a minute now. We got to check. Did my mom text a question in? We got to just look very quickly.
Perhaps to you. No, she did not. It would show up.
Ah.
How about to you?
Did she text something to me?
Maybe she's.
See? We're talking about people not attending the Vespero service, and your own mother didn't watch our show. I mean, how?
I know. My mom didn't even watch the show.
Maybe she's making cheesecakes.
Yeah, could be. That she's with Connie making cheesecakes. How dare she do something when her son is on?
Wearing a hat.
Wearing a hat, no less. Okay.
All right. Well, that concludes tonight's show. If we didn't get to your question, please hang on to it. We and submit it again next week. We're getting so many more questions. It's hard to get to everybody's, but we really appreciate the kindness and the audience out there.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back next week.
And thanks for some really beautifully simple questions. Presbytera, thank you very much, as always, keeping me corrected and on the right path, away from heresy.
Hopefully we weren't too hard on you. There was, not giving you too much trouble tonight.
No, this was all good. This was all good. Father Demos was very participative, and we're looking forward to that.
I like Deacon Demos.
Deacon
Demos.
Deacon Demos. It has a ring to it.
Yes, try to say that 5 times fast. I think it is a tongue twister, especially if you make it Demosthenes.
Diaconessa Dionysia.
Oh, that sounds good too.
Man.
Wow.
It's like a D. It's a D to the 4th power. Wow. I like it. All right.
Have a good night.
Everybody have a great night. Thanks.
I missed it. Wait, I'm going back in so you can officially take off the hat.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go.